Hi, Brent. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing really, really well. So, everyone, this is Brent Alan Henry, and he is a friend of mine, but he is a writer, actor, and casting director. And I just wanted to have a conversation with you and sort of pick your brain about what's going on in the industry right now and what are some tips and things that will be helpful for actors with everything that's going on. So first, let's start. Just give us a quick intro and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm Brent Alan Henry. I've been acting in LA for probably 15-ish years, TV commercials, all that stuff. And in the past couple of years, I transitioned into casting. And that has been mostly commercials and music videos, but I've also done web series, independent movies, kind of a mid-budget movie, some different things like that. And so it's a good perspective being an actor in the casting world.
Absolutely. I love that you've been on both sides of the camera. I think that's so helpful. I mean, the more knowledge you gain in the industry, the more it helps you. So let's just talk about what is going on right now. And what have you seen from your casting side of things? Is the industry starting back up? I feel like it is. I feel like on LA Casting and Actors Access, there's a lot more than there was before in the past few months. So what's going on from your perspective with the industry right now?
Oh, the world we're in, the industry we're in. Obviously, we all know about the shutdown when everything just got locked tight. And it not necessarily that the situation's better out there. I just think that everybody knows how to navigate it better now. They know the protocols. They know how to keep people safe, the quick testing, sterilization processes. So that's has kicked things back into production. Yes, we're back open, but not at the scale we were. So I think either what's going on is rocking and rolling, or everybody's getting ready to. So the castings are going to start coming, if they're not already. But it has catapulted us into a self-tape world, like it or not.
Let's talk about self-tapes for a
Uh-oh.
second. Because before COVID and everything started, self-tapes were already becoming way more popular. And I feel like as an actor, you either love or you hate self-tapes. I am not a fan of them because I would much rather be in the room with someone so they get my personality and know my essence, and they can be like, oh, if she's not right for this, we'll call her back in for something else, whatever. So I despise self-tapes, but I've started training myself and my brain. I'm like, this is the new normal.
Yep.
And I'm just going to have to get used to it. So let's just talk about self-tapes for a minute, your take on them, and also what are some tips that we can do as actors that you're seeing that we're not doing right now when it comes to self-tape specifically? And I'm talking more not just about lighting and your camera angle and your backgrounds and all of that, a little more in depth of what we can do to ramp those up and make them better.
Sure. Yes, self-tapes. I was also not a fan, but I've learned to embrace it because you have to. But I've also kind of found a lot of positives in it. We've all seen the classes, Zoom or wherever, where they talk about, lighting, reader, all that stuff. Yes, it's important. But I would probably say some benefits of it are, yes, you do lose the energy in the room. There's no getting around that. That's a bummer. The building the relationships of seeing people. You might be able to capture a little of that in your slate, which could also help show how different the performance you're giving was of the character than who you really are. So that's always good. But you never want to make that too forced. But the thing about self-taping that you can embrace now is that there really are far fewer nerves. Mm-hmm. It's your own atmosphere, and you can do it 10 times. Maybe you do it once and the lines aren't quite there, but the energy's up. So you could do it right away without cutting. When you get the lines are there and your energy's there, and you just cut it on the end. So there is that benefit. It's important to learn editing programs. I mean, most people are using iMovie, which is just basic. You can make it all happen with that. But you do have that benefit of just finding the right one. One thing that I think I'm seeing people doing that distracts you almost is when they cut in a scene. You know, you have a couple sentences and they'll cut and they'll do this. So they're grabbing good parts from all the different takes they made. And it's,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
That takes a lot of editing and time.
It does. Well,
You know?
all this takes a lot of time now between the setup of all your gear, lights, if you don't have a good natural light, you know, all the stands and tightening and setting them up. So you do need
No,
to
but
take.
that's interesting that actors are doing that because it is distracting because you know that the scene ended and then they're picking it up somewhere else.
Or
So,
they're even
yeah,
cutting in the middle of the scene.
yeah,
They'll say the first line and they'll cut to this sentence over here. But that also kind of, it makes you wonder, can they get through it on set?
right.
So that's kind of a technical thing that we're starting to notice. I mean, every office feels differently about backdrops or readers. You know, some people don't want to see, if it's not a solid backdrop, don't show it. Some people don't care about it. I've heard some certain offices say, if there's a wrinkle, you know, a lot of people hang sheets. If there's a wrinkle, they're just going to skip it and go to the next one. Everybody's
I
different.
know.
So, you know, just like when you were in office, they like this, they didn't like that. But there's so many tools for your benefit of self-taping. I mean, you can have your scenes, you know, I've got my phone right here and you can't even tell I'm holding them. You know, maybe my scenes are on my phone. See, there's right off camera. It could be a good eye line, or you could tape it right here. I mean, there's so many little tricks to your benefit that you couldn't do before.
If someone doesn't have a reader, what do you recommend when it comes to commercials? I'm speaking just with commercials, but if they're in a scene with someone and they're saying the lines, if they don't have a reader with them, would you rather them just hold and like pause and do it? Or should they have someone, you know, on their phone? Would you much rather hear someone on a phone or a computer delivering the lines?
That's a good question. And that's, I think, poses one of the biggest challenges for people in, you know, everybody's at home and you're not hanging out with people. They're a little more reluctant to get together. But I would say the two no-nos are don't hold, don't just be quiet during other lines, and don't record your own lines. I get it. It's tough to find readers, but when you record your own lines, the timing is never perfect. Either you're talking over, reading over, or in your head, you're thinking, I've got to hurry through this paragraph because I know my pre-recorded line's about to hit. It doesn't create a good organic performance. And then just pausing, kind of the same thing.
I definitely did that like a
Oh,
long time ago. And I was
oh,
like,
yeah.
this is a complete nightmare. I was running, you know, I was jumbling over my words and I was trying to get them in before my next lines. It was just not good. But I learned from that. I was like, yeah, that's something I don't want to do from now on, to put myself in that situation. So, but I was just curious because now a lot of times like people are home by themselves. So they're wondering, what should I be doing? You know, you have all these questions going into an audition.
Mm-hmm.
And with self-tape, you have no one there to give you feedback. You look at what the casting director has said, you know, and a lot of times, like some of them are like, we want an all white background, find an all white background. That's it. And you're like, okay, why is it such a big deal? But that's what they want. So reading those breakdowns is very important, as you know, and there are things that I feel like we can do for ourselves that will help. And I think one of the biggest things I took from all the commercial classes that I've taken is to think from the client's perspective.
Oh, yeah.
And so maybe touch on that just a little bit when you're looking at tapes, helping actors get prepared for whatever they're about to do. If they're going in for Wells Fargo, to not wear a blue shirt because that's Chase. You know, they're going to think Chase Bank, that's our biggest competitor, things like that. What are some advice or tips that you would give to actors when it comes to thinking from the client's perspective?
I think an important one is that it all starts with your slate, because 9.9 times out of 10, that's what they're going to see first. They have the option usually to fast forward on their end, but so in the slate, be who you want them, who you want them to be, or who they want you to be. I mean, if it's a fast food commercial, you're probably not going to be grumpy in your slate. You're not going to say, "Hey, I'm Brent." You're say, "Hey guys, I'm Brent." You know, just that's a time to give them a little likability there, because they don't want to bring anybody on the set that's not likable for the most part, if the role's fitting for that. So I would just say, from that moment, because that's the first thing they're going to see of you, like I said, just Start being the person that they want you to be. Don't wait until action of the audition.
Right. Yeah. And just always smile. I feel like you can't go wrong if you're just always smiling at the top of the video. And even at the end, you know, no matter what you're doing, you're happy to have this opportunity and to have this audition
For sure.
anyway. So
And,
show that.
a lot of people think that it's an audition. I'm just going to go in there and, be myself, or it's just a look. It doesn't matter. There's a lot that goes into commercial auditioning, a lot more than people think.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit more. What have you realized being behind the camera, things that are an advantage knowing that you feel like actors should know, maybe like 2 or 3 things that you've realized?
I think a big thing is headshots and looking like them in the room. I mean, I've got quarantine hair right now, but I've also communicated that to my agents. So they submit, here's my picture. Hey, Brent has longer hair now. If you come in that room and we're looking, a lot of times casting, we know things that agents don't know or that we don't put out. Like, let's say we're looking for brunettes. But we know the client said, make sure nobody has colored hair. Maybe it's something that they told us after we released the breakdown. So we know if you come in with colored hair, they can't see you. But so your agent submitted a brunette picture of you and you come in with blue hair. Now you're wasting everybody's time. Mm-hmm. Maybe we just send you home. I feel, as an actor, I feel terrible about that. But so looking like your headshots, and you don't even need to get new pictures, which is good news for actors because it's expensive to take them, to put them up, all that stuff. It's just a matter of just communicating so they can tell us. Or maybe you're a blonde now, not a brunette, and we know there's no blonde, something like that.
So as long as you guys know, it's okay. You don't have to go out and get all new pictures done because you cut your hair.
Sure.
But as long as it's communicated. Okay. That's
good
to know.
Facial hair could go either way. Maybe you don't know that we're looking for beards. You have to have a beard for this commercial. Because people can always shave, so it's fine the other way around. But you had a beard in this picture, and now you only have a mustache. So we need to know that, and then now we've wasted everybody's time, and it makes us unhappy with you, maybe your agents. But it also goes with being really done up, male or female, because unless you do that in the room, then you don't look like it. And even more so these days, everybody's looking for real people. Not that we're not, but so it's just keep it simple and communicate to your agents will probably be the biggest thing that'll help you in that room.
Yeah, I feel like that is so funny that you mentioned real people. I feel like they put that on every single breakdown. We want real people, but what they mean is what you're saying is being natural. You don't need to look like Miss America walking in for a Walmart commercial, because when you walk into Walmart, it's not a bunch of Miss Americas.
It is not a bunch of Miss Americas in Walmart.
Looking people.
Yes.
So that's what the client is looking for. But I feel like I see that on breakdowns all the time.
It's
so headshots, looking like yourself. Is there anything else that that's kind of come to your attention that you were like, oh, I wish actors would know this?
I guess it's just things that actors would know. There's something we've heard from day one, and it's just, and it is kind of grouped into it. It's just about being present and being kind. And when you get there, I see who's engaged when I'm giving an explanation. I know who looks bored and like they don't want to be there. I know who is mean to the interns in the front office. There have been people that have been blackballed from office before they've even stepped into the audition. But I think, coming from an actor standpoint, it comes down to you got to treat yourself like a business. When you go into Walmart or a restaurant and it's a bad server or a bad associate, you don't want to deal with them anymore. You don't want to go to that restaurant anymore. Maybe you go to a different store, and it's the same thing. You're a business. So, be likable, be professional, be on time, be attentive, do all the things that you like out of a business. Because there's thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people out there that would do anything to take your spot. And
yeah,
we've all heard the number games. The SAG commercial we did right before the end of the year, I think we got, for 7 roles, I think we got 24,000 submissions.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah. And we call in,
Wow.
we select maybe 120 and we call in about 70 to 80 for each role, depending, maybe less. It'll definitely be less these days. If it is in person, people will call in less. Now that we're doing self-tapes, I think people will be able to get to see more.
Yeah, absolutely. So being kind, which is so simple and we can all do that, works wonders. And I want to go back because you touched on the explanation. And I know you offer a Zoom commercial sort of refresher class or things that people have never heard before. But I do know the importance of listening to the explanation that the casting director is giving. That's a huge thing. You guys are taking time. You're trying to help us, the actor in the room, by giving us as much information as you can and giving us those guidelines. Let's just talk to me a little bit about that, like the explanation and how important that is.
The explanation, most offices will post or hand out in the lobby a description of the commercial and maybe generally what you're supposed to do. What the explanation is of bringing all the actors in, and when you come into the room, 10 out of 10 times people do this, they go to the front of the room. You want to go and look at what the camera's looking at. Like you're behind the camera filming the actor, because that's the spot the casting director or I will go up and explain to you. But these are the beats. I iron them down. I show you what you do in the space where you can't really get off the paper. I give you little clues, things not to do, suggestions, which maybe we've learned going throughout the day. You know, we type up these instructions at the beginning, and throughout the day it's evolved, or we've noticed little things, or so far the first 10 groups have all done this, so make sure you guys aren't doing this. It's just a little way to just give you kind of an insight on how to do better and give the client what they're looking for. And that is not a time to daydream. It's not a time to, you know, your buddy's over there, oh, what's up, you know, see your buddy. It's fun to see him, but you're there to work. Right. There's a lot of money there for a reason. So it's so important to listen to that. And then one thing that I have noticed is between the time of the explanation and actors coming in the room, they'll be outside in the hall talking to their buddy or on their phone, and they'll forget the little nuances that I told them to make sure you do or don't do. And then it's just not a good performance. So the focus is so important. I mean,
yeah, it goes back to, like you said, being present.
Yeah.
And just knowing that I got this audition out of thousands of people. So I need to make sure that I'm on my A game, I'm focused. If you see your friends, which I've done a million times, especially commercial auditions, you see so many people that you know from classes or whatever, but you're like, oh my gosh, hey, how are you? And I might talk to them for a second, but then I sort of go off in my own corner or outside, whatever I need to do. If the room is packed full of people, I go outside so that I make sure that I'm focused on what I'm here for. So just being present in the moment.
Even saying it. I actually went on a in-person the other day, and this guy was just blabbing my ear off in the lobby. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Maybe I haven't talked to anybody in a while. I don't know. But I just said, hey, I'm just going to, wrap my head around this. So excuse me, and just let him know politely. And then be like, oh, maybe I should.
Have an Amazon package.
Yes. On a Sunday.
Anyway, so but you have to sometimes, and you're not doing it because you're being rude, but you're taking care of yourself.
Being professional, yeah. As they should probably be as well.
Absolutely. You have to do, as an actor, as soon as you enter that building, get out of your car, walk, whatever, you have to take care of yourself and think, what do I need in this moment? That's something that's helped me so much. And
I would almost say leave your phone in the car, but I wouldn't say that because a lot of times these days, especially, you might need it for a prop. So if you could leave it in your pocket, if you have that, that discipline,
props.
People won't.
Props, that's a whole other thing too, because I feel like some people say yes to having props, some people say no. And I mean, there's so many different technical things that we could get into on this. And I know you offer a class and you tell people all of these things. And I've taken tons of commercial classes all over LA, and I'm sure you have as well. But there's always something new to remind yourself of.
Sure.
Even if it's just a refresher course, or, if it's just also motivating for us to remember all of these things and provide a little bit of hope and think like, oh, the industry is starting back up. So with that, let's sort of wrap this up and end on something positive. Do you feel like things are ramping back up? What are some things that you're seeing that you're like, yes, this makes me happy to know?
And then on a good note, I would say that things are definitely getting busier. I'd say a percentage is back to work. And if not back to work, they're getting ready to go back to work. And because everybody's so behind, there's going to be so much going on in shooting. So the good thing for us is that opportunities are going to be a lot more. It's going to come pouring in and get busy. And maybe a role you couldn't get because other actors maybe were in front of you or for that role too. Maybe they're going to be busy doing something else. So I think the opportunities for everybody are going to be there, be present, and just be ready for the taking. And then another thing that I've kind of experienced on my end, this is a hell of a time, and everybody's experiencing it differently. And at the beginning, I wasn't very creative. I had trouble wrapping my head around doing any of my projects. But now that we've kind of settled into somewhat of a routine's a tough word because everything's always different. It's
New
easier
normal,
to be
I
creative.
guess.
Yeah. So now's the time that you can kind of get yourself back to a place of creativity and being productive. And if it's not a great escape from the world out there, it just feels good to be productive. And then maybe, you can come out of this with something under your belt that you could do something with. So it's around the corner. It's going to start getting busy. I think everybody's going to hit the ground running and just start rocking and rolling soon.
I feel the same, and I hope that it's that way. You cannot hold this industry down. There are, so many people that are ready to get back to work, as we all are as actors. But thank you so much. These are really helpful tips and just things to remember. Where can people find you? And do you have a class coming up that you're offering, or how does that work?
I do. You can find me, I'm Brent Alan Henry on Instagram, but I've got my casting account is The Casting Director. I'm an actor, casting director. See what I did there? So it's at The Casting Director. I've got all the projects I've worked on, which have been music videos, big stuff, and announcements. I've got tips, but I just posted, I've got a class Saturday the 19th at 1:00. And then I've got one on Wednesday, the 30th. I know a lot of people can't do weekends and vice versa. So I've got a weekday and a weekend. So all the information's there. You can email me at thecastingdirector@gmail.com as well for information on all that, and get your rock and roll. It's a 2-hour Zoom class. It's got some beginner tips, but we talk about profiles, what's good, what's not good, marketing. Then, especially now, we dig into self-tapes a little bit more. I pretty much I answer all kinds of questions. There's no dumb questions out there. I actually love dumb questions because I had no idea what I didn't know. And as an actor working in casting, I love kind of giving that to people because it's only going to help you. And then it's only going to help me when you come in for me, because I like to take care of people that I know are out there hustling. And from an actor standpoint, I respect that.
Exactly. Well, all good things. Thank you so much for taking time to answer my questions. And I really hope that this helps. If it helps one person, it helps me listening and hearing these things again. So if it helps one person, that's amazing. And that was the whole goal of this. But thank you again for being here.
Yeah,
and
thanks for having me.
Happy casting.
We'll see you in the room soon.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
Brent.